With thousands of dollars in questionable spending, we wanted to know who's keeping Morristown utility systems in check. They have made an arrest. 23-year-old Joshua Hayworth was arrested. Let me just give you an idea of this scene that we're at right now. Biggest thing you need to know is there are no backpacks allowed in Neyland Stadium. And as for other purses and bags, you can bring them as long as they fit inside this box. HB has confirmed that there are multiple fatalities from this accident. These secondary roads, like right behind me, are the big issue today. And as you can see, not everyone is minding these barricades. One business says they're determined to defy the shutdown. You get inside of this shelter. These walls are 8 inches thick. The ceiling and the floor are 12 inches. And take a look at this door. It weighs more than 100 pounds. But fans have been lined up out here. They don't have tickets inside, but they're hoping the chance to see the star Liam Hemsworth. And what we found was one nonprofit in particular, Heart Support of America, is one of the worst offenders. You can see there's still a lot of activity going on down there. We are joined right now by Knox County Sheriff's spokesperson, Martha Dooley. Martha, what can you tell us about the latest in this investigation?
Well, as you mentioned, the parents, Angela Major and Ken Mason, have been taken down to detectives' headquarters at the City County building.
Any information on the child's condition?
The baby was taken by ambulance to UT Hospital, and that's where she was being treated.
Thank you so much, Martha. So we're obviously going to bring you as many updates as we can coming up for you tonight at 6 o'clock. In addition to changing the number of lanes, they're also going to coordinate all the stoplights, hoping to make traffic flow a little more smoothly on the Strip. On your side in Knoxville, Alexis Zotos, 6 News. Now, residents, though, that have been coming back here today to see if there was anything salvageable say this site is hard to bear. The massive fire spread quickly throughout Southwood Apartment Building D, giving its residents little time to escape.
I was laying on the couch and my son was in the bed, and I remember him waking me up. He said, "Mom, the apartment's on fire, get up." And I got up immediately and I saw all the smoke, and I put my shoes on and my coat, and we just ran out the door.
Within 10 minutes, their third-floor apartment was engulfed. No time to grab any belongings.
My boyfriend died January the 2nd, and all the pictures and all his clothes were in there.
Anita Hall said her son Richard saved her life, but their pets didn't make it.
3 birds and 2 fish.
Fire officials believe the fire started in the attic, spreading quickly because of the lack of fire walls. The building is more than 40 years old and was equipped with smoke alarms, but residents say they never went off.
We didn't hear any alarm. I woke up from the smoke itself, and I first thought it was our apartment that was on fire until I looked in the hallway and I seen the flames from the middle apartment.
Firefighters demolished the building this morning due to safety concerns. A shocking sight for this family.
We actually thought this morning we'd have a chance to look through and see if something was salvageable, but we got here, we had no idea it was already torn down. All our photos, all our clothes, everything, her pets.
Things that I had from childhood, I mean, it's all gone.
Now, because they had to demolish this building, it will be difficult to determine what actually caused this fire. However, they still can look for clues, including talking to some of those residents about where they believe they saw that fire start. Piecing those together, they might still be able to determine what caused this and why. They do at this point, though, say they do not believe it was suspicious. Live in South Knoxville, Alexis Zotos, 6 News.
Oh my gosh.
That does kind of get frustrating. Mercy.
These customers aren't reacting to high utility bills.
Wow.
No, those are the reactions to the spending of employees at Morristown Utility Systems. It's a utility company that serves just under 15,000 customers. But we found your rates aren't just going to water and electric. You're footing the bill for some pricey perks. Last year, 6 employees and board members flew to Denver for the American Water Works Association conference, a trip costing $11,000. Then it was off to San Diego for a trip costing $5,724, a conference in Dallas for $4,000. And the trips are done in style, 4-star hotels and a lot of steak dinners. including this one in McCormick and Schmick's in Seattle for $420. Several $38 fillets and a $34 ribeye. The alcohol was reimbursed, but it's still a fancy dinner on your dime.
Shoot, I could eat a week on that.
But they're not just spending big money when they go out of state. Trips to Nashville include a $490 dinner at the Stockyard, $163 at Morton's, and at the hotel, a $19 movie charged to the room, all paid for with the company card.
It's hard for us to make ends meet, so to see them spending that kind of money is kind of overwhelming.
We poured over financial statements for the last 2 years, finding that employees at MUS spend $91,000 on travel in 2013. In 2012, they spent $81,000. That breaks down to around $6 per customer. So who's going on these trips? The biggest traveler is CEO Jody Wigington, but CFO Clark Rucker, Power System Manager Brian DeLozer, Water System Manager Mike Howard, and Telecommunications Manager George Benjamin all make several trips each year, along with many other employees. Most of them are in state, conferences and meetings in Chattanooga, Nashville, and Gatlinburg, almost always staying overnight, something Morristown residents say they couldn't afford to do.
Most definitely not, because it's way too expensive and it's an hour home.
But going through these financial statements, we found employees are also eating out right here in Morristown. Lunches and dinners all across town. Employees spent more than $8,000 last year.
I'm sure that the merchants like it, but I don't think it's good for the ratepayers.
With thousands of dollars in questionable spending, we wanted to know who's keeping Morristown utility systems in check. We took our concerns to City Council and the City Mayor.
If a Morristown utility system can afford to spend that kind of money, then surely we can afford to reduce our rates.
That shocks me and disappoints me, because as a council member, we're charged and obligated to be the best stewards of the ratepayers and the taxpayers' money.
Morristown Utility Systems is an entity of the city, but other than approving bond issues and commission appointments, the city has no control. The 5-member utility board is in charge of oversight, but we found many of them attend these conferences and dinners.
It would seem it would be difficult to regulate your own activities.
Seems like an awful lot of money.
Councilmember Bob Gary used to work at MUS. He says the spending is out of control, especially when it comes to out-of-state conferences.
I know what they're doing. They're playing. They could not go to a single damn one of those, and the system would do just as well.
The company's CEO, Jody Wigington, refused to do an on-camera interview, instead responding to our questions about travel expenses in an email, saying, quote, "This is 0.08% of revenues. We do not consider this excessive. Training employees with new skills in a constantly changing business climate has resulted in $800,000 in annual operations and maintenance savings." But customers say the expenses seem too high.
I think it needs to be investigated. I don't think that's right.
Now, we have all of these receipts and many more of these expenses on our website, along with the rest of the statement provided by the CEO at Morristown Utility System. Buckets in hand, the group was seeking donations near Farragut yesterday. If you look closely, their buckets have various names on them. Some say New Life Christian Church, another said Project Verso. When asked, they wouldn't clarify.
What's the organization called?
Well, it's confidential.
It's the same group I saw at Morrell and Kingston over the weekend, a group KPD says is a fraud.
They were very defensive. They indicated that they were trying to raise money for a charity through their church, but yet they could not give us the name of their church.
KPD cited them for soliciting without a permit. 3
of the individuals are from Florida. One is from South Carolina. And 2 of the individuals had outstanding warrants for their arrest from 3 different states.
The warrants were for similar charges in other states. Daryl DeBoss explaining that's their game.
You'll see them pack up and they'll move to another busy intersection. Then they'll move to another intersection.
They moved around Knoxville and into Knox County. When we asked the sheriff's office earlier this week, we were told they were allowed because they were a nonprofit. According to the county law director, Bud Armstrong, it's illegal to collect money in intersections. County code reads, no solicitor shall be permitted to set up and operate a booth or stand on any street or sidewalk. After speaking to the law director today, the sheriff released this statement. Quote, "We deal with nonprofits at intersections on a case-by-case basis. We make sure they are not impeding traffic or are a safety hazard to themselves and others," unquote. The sheriff's office didn't issue any citations. As for the city's citation, DeBusk said the group indicated they'd pay for it with the donations.
They said, well, that's no problem. We'll just take it out of the money, out of the bail. So that's another sign that this is not a legitimate operation.
Now, there is a New Life Christian Church in Virginia. I reached out to them and they said they have no connection with the group collecting money here in Knoxville. As for Project Verso, there is an organization by that name in Atlanta. We were unable to reach them to see if they had any connection to this group here. Live in the studio, Alexis Zotos, 6 News. In Tennessee, before you can carry a handgun, there is a lengthy and somewhat costly process to go through.
Here comes beady-eyed bad guy.
The 8-hour course begins in the classroom, going over everything from the basic parts of a gun.
You cock the gun, now it'll fire.
To the extensive laws and regulations.
It's a lot to learn in 8 hours.
But instructor Doug Estep says it's key students walk away with an understanding of what it means to carry a gun in public.
Having the gun in your possession is not going to make you safe. You have to be aware of what's going on around you. You don't want to get in that situation to begin with, that's your only option to get out.
There's no prior knowledge needed for the class, but to pass, students must complete a written exam and then hit the range to prove their proficiency with a gun. With the recent political debate over gun control, handgun carry classes like this have been selling out across the state. But people's reasons for taking them are all very different.
I own a small business and I have 2 small children, and I'm by myself a lot, so I just want to be safe.
I don't know that I'd ever carry one on my person, but just to have it in the car, if you're traveling out of town, anything like that. Really why I wanted to get the permit.
There's been a lot of talk with ammunition going up and being scarce, and some handguns or some guns outlawed, so you never know what's going to come up, and I want to go ahead and get mine just in case.
Completing the course cost around $80, but that's only half the process. The application itself is another $115 and requires proof of citizenship, Tennessee residency, and the ability to pass a background check. But the cost and time are worth it for many. For that one moment, they may need it.
That's the factor that may make it so that you could be the one to go home instead of the attacker.
In Knoxville, Alexis Zotos, 6 News. East Tennessee is home to some of the best whitewater rapids in the country. And for the extreme adrenaline junkies, they take to the rapids in kayaks.
It's a rush. Yeah. It's a blast.
Good times.
Another way to have fun in the outdoors without spending a whole lot of money.
Whitewater kayaking is different than traditional kayaking, and I headed to Rapid Expeditions along the Pigeon River to give it a go. Once we had all the gear, it's time to get into the boat.
It needs to fit very snug because you don't want to be flopping around. You want to be nice and connected, per se.
I definitely want to be snug before we go down these. The first thing to learn is the wet exit.
And the wet exit's how you actually get out of the boat.
When you flip over, the key is to tuck, push forward, and swim out. But it's not quite as easy as it sounds.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Oh my God, it's funny.
And after the exit, it's time to try a roll. Instructor Dave Crawford makes them look easy. I, however, was terrified. With a deep breath, I gave it a shot.
Okay.
Oh my God, that is so hard.
As you can see, not so simple, but I tried again.
Nice. Woo, I did it.
Why would anyone want to roll? Crawford explains when you flip on a rapid, it's quicker to roll than to go to shore and dump your boat.
And there's 2 sides, the power side and the back side. When you're going forward, you want your paddle nice and vertical.
After mastering the strokes, it was time to hit the white water. When you pull out into the fast-moving water, the instinct is to lean away, but you want to lean into the rapids. Otherwise, you'll flip.
Nothing about whitewater kayaking really feels natural, but if you take a lesson, you can master some basic skills.
The key is you got to practice, like with any sport.
Rapid Expeditions offers lessons for beginners like me all the way up to those who want to take it to the extreme. But even extreme kayakers get scared.
Fear is fear. So the fear you experienced today doing the things that you did is no different than the fear that I experienced on a Class 5.
But you do get scared.
Absolutely, I am human.
For 6 Around Town, Alexis Zotos.